All right, thank you very much. I have no idea what you just said, but thanks for the introduction anyway. And thanks for letting me speak here. I'm here to talk about sexting, as I was told. I don't know that much about sexting because my background, I'm a lawyer. And this is why I'm going to talk to you about how do we as a hotline, and I'm going to talk to you about what a hotline is, how do we experience that and how do we deal with it within the scope of what we do. So what we do has a lot to do with who we are, and who we are starts a couple of years ago. I work for the ECHO Association of the Internet Industry, very long name, just call it ECHO. So basically, at one point in 1995, all the internet industry in Germany, now it's more international, but during that time it was mainly in Germany. They said, okay, let's make a club because we have common interests. We want to talk to each other, and we want to network. We want to do lobby work and things like that. And then quickly, this industry was mainly the, you could say, the infrastructure of the internet. So everything that has cables, everything that is a computer, like server farms, things like that, hosting providers, stuff like that. These are our classic members. We have a little over 1,000 members, but nowadays the platform providers like Google was here, or Facebook, and even content providers are also our members. Why am I telling you this? 1 year after this was formed, like a working group within ECHO said, okay, look, we provide the infrastructure of the internet, at least in Germany. We are aware that people are using this infrastructure and all of our services and platforms for illegal things. We do not want this, so what can we do about it? So what they founded was something with a very flashy name, the Internet Content Task Force. I am not very happy that we changed the name because I would like to be part of that, but we changed it into the ECHO Complaints Office, and this is where I work. So our you could say what we have to do is to deal with online content that is illegal or harmful for children. How do we do that? Well, first of all, who does it? It's very important because we have a very nice and very good-looking team. So this is why I like to pull out this slide. What I want to point out is we are 7 people, 3 of them are part-time workers. We're not a, like a big farm in the Philippines of 50 or 5,000 people that are looking at online content and doing quick reactions to, yes, this is legal, no, it's not legal. But we're all lawyers, we're all legal experts in the fields that are special for us. Okay, so how do we do this work? We're what's called an internet hotline. There's more than one, obviously. Even in Germany, we have 3. But you've just heard from my lovely colleague from NASC. So we do basically the same thing, but in Germany. This is how we do it. It looks a little complicated, but I'll try to take you through it. So it all starts with somebody, well, I don't really like the word complainant or complaints office because what we handle is reports. People report things to us. So I'm going to use report. If you see the word complaint, just, change it in your head. So it always starts with people reporting things to us. They can do that by email. Technically, they can call us on the phone, but please don't do that because, telling via phone a URL of a website, it's a problem. People do it. So some people mail us in the physical mail, like with the post office. Don't do that either, because I have to type it in then. So basically email, or we have online forms. One is actually directed at young people, children and young people. So it's a German online form. I'm not going to bore you with the URL, but this also obviously gives us some reports. All of these reports are funneled, as a funnel, to us, the ECHO Complaints Office, and then we assess the content. So usually it's a website, sometimes it's Facebook profiles, sometimes people complain about, I don't know, my shoes are dirty. But we assess the content that gets reported to us, and then depending what kind of content it is, we take certain measures. First of all, obviously, if it's illegal content that is criminally illegal, we send it to the police, and so that they can do their stuff. We're not a state body, which is why we don't have any investigation going on at our place. that is not our remit. And then, as a little clock, after a little waiting time, so the police can do their stuff, and some of them take quite a long time depending on the urgency of the case, we contact the providers and then see that the content gets taken down. Of course, we check regularly after a while, is the content still there? If it is, we remind them, please take it down. 2 days later, please take it down now, things like that. But going back to the beginning, the first thing that starts our process is always a report. Like somebody writes to us, I found something that should not be online. Who are those people? Who writes to us? There you go. We call it justified complaints. So this is from the year 2018. We don't have many numbers for 2019 yet. So in the whole year of 2018, the people that sent stuff to us that was actually illegal, 50%, you can see the biggest chunk there, 50% was anonymous, so we don't actually know. But you can see, I think the little gray one, yes, that were just people, internet users, we call them citizens. So we say about 60% probably come from people from the public. Another thing to point out is the anonymity. Usually people prefer to send, I think it's the same in other countries, I think that's the same with NASC. People prefer to send to us before they go to the police. If I find something online, maybe it implicates myself, like I find something that is, say it's child sexual abuse material, next question I think I will get is, why did you find that? So people use the anonymous option quite often. Then of course we have partner hotlines in the InHope network that send us things that are hosted in Germany. And the big red chunk there is, it's called derived reports. If you send me a website, of course I'm going to click around and see if there's other websites linked with that also have some bad content. Okay, so I think we went through this. So I've already bored you with some numbers. Let me bore you with some more. In the year 2018, we had, let me see, I have this here. We had a total number of reports of 320,000. That sounds extreme. It's more than 1,000 or almost 1,000 a day. But you have to remember that you can also send us reports about spam. So not technically spam like Viagra spam or phishing emails, but if you get some commercial email that you didn't want, you can report that to us and we will try and deal with that too. So this is why this number is so high. If you subtract all the spam, if you dense it down to just websites with illegal content, so reports about websites, it's just over 7,000. No, 8,000 I think, 8,600. And of those, around, as you can see the little gray marker there, around 3,000 were actually illegal. So this is the relevant number. Out of those, what kinds of contents were those illegal things? Biggest chunk, 72%, was, well, I'm sorry for the wording. Actually, yesterday, I was talking about this presentation with somebody, and they pointed out, why are you still using the word child pornography? It's outdated. It shouldn't be called pornography because that implicates some sort of business or interest of the child to, partake. We use it still because it is the legal language. We are lawyers. If we send a report to the police, the law calls it child pornography, so do we. But only in official documents, usually when we talk about it, and this is why it shouldn't actually be in here, in this graph. We say child sexual abuse material or child sexual exploitation material. So, all right, and since it was very, in the whole of Europe, especially in Germany, it was a very big discussion in the last, say, 5 years, about racism. This is why we have this little chunk there, especially pointed out from the stuff that we actually deemed to be illegal, only 2% were connected to hate speech. Because, well, the threshold for illegality is quite high there. And then we have the remainder, about a quarter of the reports are the rest. What is the rest? You can see the two biggest chunks of the rest are the blue one, which is adult pornography, and the purple one, I think, yeah, purple, which is juvenile pornography. So basically the same as child pornography, but with persons between 14 and 18 under German law. And then you might ask, what do you mean adult pornography? That is not illegal. Well, we get that question a lot actually from people that write to us or people that we talk to. Yes, it is illegal, but only the distribution, the freely accessible distribution of pornography, of adult pornography, is illegal in Germany. It is not in many other countries, I know that, like, you know, the Netherlands or the United States, but in Germany it is. Which actually shocks a lot of Germans, to be fair. If we talk to German people that are not lawyers, that are not within this field, they always like, what, really? I didn't know that. Anyway, how do we get to sexting, what I'm actually supposed to be talking about here? As you can see, this big part are basically images, videos, sometimes text about child sexual abuse and exploitation material. So is this, just for young people or juveniles. So it is a big part of our work, and I would say that I cannot give you a number how much of this content that we see is actually maybe coming from sexting or, like, as we've heard, self-made content by the children or juveniles. I can tell you that we do see things that look like they were, but sometimes you just don't know. So let's talk about sexting. From a legal perspective, though, because my background is legal, so don't expect any big pedagogical tips or any sociological tips. My colleague said this, and I had to put it in there, some little mathematical, linguistic thing, but never mind that. So what is sexting? We've heard things. This is my interpretation. Well, it's a form of communication, obviously. It's more than one person. I can't really sext with myself. I can try, but what would that be? Sexting masturbation? I don't know. It would be weird. That's true, definitely. It's the sending and receiving, and thanks for saying that. You know, children say it's texting technically is not sexting, or sending pictures is not sexting. But I would go say it the other way around. I would say that sexting obviously includes text too. You only think of pictures or maybe videos, but obviously text can be pornographic, so text can also be, in the legal sense, child pornography or juvenile pornography. Usually it involves some sort of sexual activity or sexual naked, semi-naked content. We've heard that before too. And it's always about sending pictures and receiving pictures, either of yourself or somebody else. So this is what it is. It's not inherently wrong or bad, obviously. If you're a sexual positive person, and I believe everybody should be, then inherently there's nothing wrong with it. Obviously there's risks, especially for young people. So first of all, we've all heard about cyberbullying, cybergrooming, sextortion, all of these things. But those are, and the loss of control of distribution, you've talked about that quite a bit. So all of these are you know, things that come from the outside. Somebody else does something with the content that the sender of the content didn't really want them to do. So I won't give you examples. You probably know all of these examples yourself. What I want to talk about is the possible legal ramifications for the people partaking themselves. So say people do sext, minors do sext, and they do so consensually or not, but they do this, and then there are some legal risks for themselves, not from the outside or from somebody else's actions. So what are they? I already apologize for this. It's going to be a lot of text and a lot of sections from the German criminal law, but don't worry, I'm going to take you through it, and never mind the numbers that are going to be on there. So first of all, there's one aspect of sexting, which is sending content, obviously. So person A or minor A sends something to somebody else. This could be construed as, I hope you can read this, could be distribution of child or juvenile pornography. And you can ignore this section of the German law. Or it could be distribution without the consent of somebody, pictured in the content, which is actually a violation of copyright law, of German copyright law. If you take a picture of you and send it to somebody, even if you're clothed, it could be that you can tell me to stop legally, not only, you know, because I'm a bad person. And then, okay, the other person receives content, and that could mean possession of child or juvenile pornography. The one person creates it, the other person receives it. And receiving it or possessing it is a crime. So is taking someone's picture in some cases, especially if they're minors, especially if there's nudity involved. And there's a special German section of the law for that. And then, obviously, I talked about third parties or people that are not in a consensual relationship, or sexting relationship. Something can go wrong, coercing somebody, grooming, sextortion, all of these things. I wrote this down, but this is actually a crime under German law. So criminal laws apply here. Oops, sorry, that was too quick. All of this sounds horrible. It sounds like all the young people that are doing this thing that is actually something natural, that's part of their sexual development. It sounds like we want to punish them. I think Elena said we don't want to punish this. We want to work with this. We want to educate them about it. Well, I have good news, so does the law, at least the German law, but I think it's pretty much the same in most European countries at least. We have 3 big chunks, or I think I have 4 examples of how the law deals with this problem. First of all, obviously there's, for the criminal liability, there's an exemption for children. I'm sure it's the same, but please educate me about your local laws, Polish law or whatever. If you're under the age of 14, you're not criminally liable in Germany. So anybody, if a person that's 13 years old sends a picture of themselves doing something sexual to somebody else, they're not going to be criminally liable, of course not. Plus, there's a special section in the whole legal theory about if you're the creator of your own pornographic content, you can't be a perpetrator, but that I won't bore you with this. Just the law says if you're under 14, basically, you act without guilt because you cannot really understand what you're doing. It's a little paternalistic, but I think it's a good compromise. And then if you're over 14, you're not criminally liable entirely like an adult. We actually have a special law called the Youth Court Law, which applies to juveniles, meaning people between 14 and 18 years of age, and young adults, 18 to 21, which means all legal consequences there. It's not as strict, things don't go on your record as much, and since all legal consequences in criminal law either punishment or have educational purpose, or this is how it's supposed to be, like you're being sent to prison to be re-educated and punished. It's not one or the other, but if youth court law applies, so in these age groups, depending on development, the judge is asked basically by the law to apply any consequences, any legal consequences, with a focus on the educational part. All right, and then another thing, as I was researching this, I didn't really, because it's not that relevant for our work, but I heard about this thing called the Romeo and Juliet clause, which I think in the United States is quite a thing with statutory rape. So if you're a person over 18, say you're, for example, 19, and you have sex with somebody under 18, that's technically rape because people under 18 can't consent. I hope I'm quoting this right. But then a lot of states in the United States have something called the Romeo and Juliet clause for that. So if you're within a certain age range from each other, then you're not being punished for it. We have something kind of like that for juvenile pornography. So if you take a picture of somebody between the ages of 14 and 18 in a sexual position or something like that, that is okay. that is not criminal if you only do it to keep for yourself, and so if you don't plan on sharing it, and if you don't share it, and obviously with the consent of the person. Both of these need to apply, then that's fine, even if you're over 18. This is actually new. While I was researching this, I stumbled upon, because when I was in university, it was the other way around. Both parties had to be under 18, then it would be legal. And obviously, just because somebody's under 14 and does something criminal doesn't mean nothing happens. The law still gives the courts things to do, but they are more like family court things and youth welfare. The youth welfare office can do things. They basically try to help the parents with the education, with the legal consequences, or like getting back on track. But this has nothing to do with criminal law though. And then just all of this is about criminal law because, you know, this is what we deal with. This is why I put the focus on this. But of course, there's civil liabilities too. And those apply to children as well. Sometimes the parents usually are responsible for what the children do. Meaning, even if people are under 14, but they send out the picture that they took of their partner, they can still be subject to civil suits. Obviously, you can tell them to stop within the confines of a court, and there could be like damages. It's always hard to put a number on this. Like a child sent a picture of another child to who knows how many people. What kind of monetary punishment should there be? I'm not here to answer this question, but I'm just telling you these things obviously exist. So, what to do? Quite an open question. Obviously, the first thing is not a legal thing, as what everybody here is discussing. Very important. Prevention and knowledge about helplines is very, very important, because there's not only the legal aspect, there's the educational and then psychological aspect to this. Knowledge is key, but since I am a lawyer, what to do in a legal sense, as I've talked about, there's a lot of criminal possibilities or criminal investigations. You can always go to the police if somebody extorts you, if somebody does something that you didn't want. And as I said, civil suits are always a possibility. And last but not least, if something is posted online that you didn't want online, or that children didn't want online, they can always write to us anonymously or not. We will try and take care of it. I often get the question, is it worth it? I mean, if stuff gets out, it's on the internet forever. People will share it uncontrollably. It's hard, it's tough to track down these things, but we still do it. Coming back to our facts and figures, this is all the measures that we took in 2018. Notifications of ISPs in 2,000 cases, and this was quite successful. About 96% of the content that was reported to us went down. Even things like hate speech, this is everything. So I would always ask that things, please report it. There can be things done about it. So, all right. If there aren't any questions, this is where you can contact me if you want to, and thanks for your attention, obviously. Thanks for having me.
Hello, my name is Olga Toporiko. I'm from Belarus, from Government Prosecution Center, and thank you for your report. And I'm lawyer in criminal justice too, and I'm interested about this problem. If some sexting contact or child pornography was shared for different sites, and as I understand, you sent a provider to delete this. Do you delete all information or only one?
So you mean if the picture is on different sites? Well, if we know about it, obviously we report. Well, we act on all of these cases. We don't just take one and then disregard the others. Of course, we would act on every instance.
Only about information which was in report.
Well, more or less, yeah. We do look to the left and right, as I said, the derived reports that I was talking about. So if you send me a web page and there's, okay, here's 5 pictures, but here's also 20 links, then I'm not going to just do something about the 5 pictures, but I'm going to look through those links.
Okay. And have you some legal norm for working with provider and police?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Yes is the answer.
Czy ktoś jeszcze z Państwa ma pytania do naszego prelegenta? Okay, there's no more questions. Thank you very much for your speech.